In this video, I'm going to explain exactly why I chose to move a large portion of my savings from euros to dollars. To set the stage, I want to start with a short extract from Brent Johnson. Then we will expand from there.
And I really think that's what's going on with the dollar right now. Everybody's focused on the end game between dollars and gold. But in the meantime, the dollar's going to run around and cut every other fiat currency's head off. And all that capital and all that gold or all that power is going to flow back into the dollar.
The 12-second clip from Brent explains the mechanical reality we are all living through in 2026. Hello everyone, my name is Leo and welcome to my new channel. I dive into finance and geopolitics to document my own research and journey. Heads up, I'm no financial advisor. This is for entertainment and not financial advice. It's just what I'm doing with my own money, and always do your own due diligence. So let's sum up the Dollar Milkshake Theory in short. The most accurate way to describe the global economy today is that it is structurally short of dollars. To use Brent Johnson's metaphor, the world economy is the milkshake itself, and the only straw that exists belongs to the United States. The other countries have no straw. They only can produce the flavor and the content of the milkshake through their local labor, physical commodities and industrial assets. But they have no way to drink or retain the liquidity once the US starts to pull. This straw is powered by the fact that the entire world's essentials are priced in dollars. So the US is the only entity that can provide the necessary liquidity to settle those trades. In turn, the world works and produces real value to nurture the US, receiving only green paper dollars in exchange. Eventually, this process results in the US sucking the global capital directly into its core, leaving the rest of the world's glass empty. So the $13 trillion global short squeeze, according to the Bank of International Settlements, the world is sitting on roughly 13 trillion in offshore US dollar debt. This is a short position that the world cannot close. The wholesale liquidation. When liquidity vanishes, distressed nations like Argentina, Turkey, Pakistan and Egypt, for example, face a terminal choice. To get the dollars they desperately need to service their debt and keep their lights on, they are forced into a wholesale liquidation of everything they own. Local assets first. They dump their local stocks, their domestic real estate and their own currencies. Secondly, global assets, they move on to their own foreign holdings. This includes any foreign real estate, foreign currency reserves, including euros or dollars, and any international equities they hold. Every asset they have is sold at fire sale prices to obtain the only currency the global system demands for settlement, dollars. This forced bid for dollars happens regardless of the price, causing the dollar to spike while the rest of the world's wealth is cannibalized. Secondly, the collapse of the euro's energy backbone. The euro had a structural backbone because we were able to purchase energy using our own currency. The reality, prior to 2022, nearly half of Russian energy was settled in euros. We didn't need dollars to keep ourselves warm or to run our factories. The sabotage, the backbone, was snapped by the destruction of the Nord Stream pipelines, an operation conducted most likely by the Ukrainians with US approval, a move that fundamentally severed Europe's energy sovereignty. The trap. We have replaced the pipeline gas with American LNG, which is 3 to 5 times more expensive and 100% priced in dollars. Now we run the risk of being forced to liquidate our assets in order to obtain the dollars necessary to purchase energy from the US, thereby creating a drainage, I think, effect of our wealth toward North America. This is precisely the American straw. Third, if we made peace with Russia, could we again buy gas and oil from them and settle in euros? Many people ask, if we made peace with Russia tomorrow, could we go back to buying gas and oil in euros like we used to? The answer is a hard no. We shot ourselves in the foot the moment we started tampering with Russian sovereign reserves. Since late 2025, the Russian central bank has officially reclassified the euro as a donation risk. For Moscow, accepting euros isn't a trade anymore, it's forced charity. They know that these funds can be frozen by Western institutions like Euroclear at any second. Remember the debate over that massive reparation loans styled after the Marshall Plan? That initial proposal to directly seize and spend 210 billion of Russian assets was eventually shelved because it was considered too extreme, legally dangerous even by Brussels standards. On December 2025, the EU approved a different plan, a 19 billion euros loan financed through joint EU borrowing. The trick: the interest on this debt is serviced using the windfall profits generated by those frozen Russian assets. In practice, we are using their own money to pay the interest on the debt we issued specifically to oppose them. It's a level of financial irony that Moscow will never forget. As a result, direct settlement is technically dead under the expanded 2026 gas for rubles decree. Any remaining trade requires an absurdly complex through neutral intermediaries like the UAE and China. So now euros must first be sent to these countries, converted into friendly currencies, and only then exchanged for rubles. With the 19th sanctions package now blocking almost all correspondent banking rails, the risk of funds being seized before they even reach an intermediary is simply too high for Russia to accept. We have burned the bridge to Eastern energy and in doing so cemented our total forced dependency on the US dollar. Point number 4, why not just buy North American energy stocks instead? Many people say if the US is the primary energy supplier for the world, just buy their stocks. It sounds logical, and honestly, in the medium to long term, that is exactly what I plan to do. However, in the short term, it's risky because in a liquidity crisis, everyone sells what they can, not what they want. And over the last decade, international investors and sovereign entities have poured trillions of dollars into the US stock market. When these entities face a margin call on their debt or need dollars for essentials, they don't sell the assets they want to keep, they sell the assets that have value and liquidity. Even if a US energy company is performing perfectly, it will be sold wholesale as global investors scramble for cash. This massive forced liquidation will likely crash the US stock market. regardless of how good an individual company is. Paradoxically, the act of selling these stocks to get cash explodes the value of the dollar itself. This is why I want to hold cash, US dollars, not US assets, at least not yet. At least this is my forecast, which obviously can turn out to be wrong. I'm explaining my rational plan to you, but let's be honest, overcoming fear during an actual crisis is hard. Back in 2020, during the COVID crisis, I had a tremendous opportunity. There was a small laboratory in the basement of my condo that could have been transformed easily into an apartment. It cost only 20,000 euros, which where I live is practically nothing. But I didn't buy it. I was scared of being left without enough liquidity for the following months, especially since my work had dropped off significantly and I had less income. So I froze. I chose the safety of my cash over a life-changing, well, not life-changing, but still a very good investment, because the experience was so unique and terrifying. So while I'm planning to wait for the peak of the crisis to buy back into the market at a massive discount with my strong dollars, we will see when push comes to a shove if I actually have the courage to follow through this time, or if that old fear will take over and I will just end up stuck again, holding tight to my safe liquidity. So the final verdict: dumping euros at a temporary strength of 1,18 is a tactical move to front-run the milkshake effect. By the time the rest of the market realizes that the Eurozone has no energy backbone and the industrial complex cannot function, the exchange rate will likely be much lower. I'm moving into the anchor currency, not because the US system is perfect, but because in a burning building, the dollar is the only exit that stays open. My plan is simple. Exit the euro while it still has nominal value. Ride the dollar spike as the global short squeeze peaks. Use the extreme dollar purchasing power to buy the world's best energy and industrial assets after the forced liquidation crashes the markets. I am choosing to exit the milkshake while the glass is still full, before the US straw finishes the rest. So that's it for today. I really hope you enjoyed this dive into the milkshake theory. For me, it was a lot of fun to put this together, and my goal is to follow through with my plan to get one new video out every single week. I also hope my English was comprehensible enough for you to follow the logic. If not, I might be forced to switch back to my mother and father languages, let's say Italian or German, and we will all have to rely on the subtitles. Let me know in the comments if you could follow along. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.